Jazzcast Pros.
This is going to be my most hypocritical intro of any of my podcast episodes. And I have had an episode about not being high vibe. So I have just released a course, and I'm going to tell you that you do not need another course. Don't buy it. And this is not reverse psychology at all, I swear. But as entrepreneurs, we get stuck into, I just need to learn more. And if you have said that, or if you believe it, or are currently telling yourself that, then this is the episode for you. We are going to be talking about why we get stuck in the learning, not doing phase, and how to get ourselves out of it. And you will hear about my favorite ABC of business. So let's talk about why you need implementation, not more education. Welcome to High Vibe Table Talks, the podcast to help you, the cautiously ambitious woman, remove mental barriers and take action now so that you can achieve your high vibe desires. I'm Rashawn, your high vibe curator, cheerleader, and accountability partner. As a wife, a mother, and an entrepreneur who recently quit my job to follow my dreams, I understand why you may be hesitant to throw caution to the wind and take that leap. Today is going to be around this concept that I learned. Actually, I can't remember where I heard it now, but it's something that I think a lot of us fall into, and it is, once I know more, then I'll do it. And so the title of this podcast is You Don't Need More Information, You Need Implementation. This is part of why I added the Prospecting Power Hours to my sales course, is because we all have like course graveyards, courses that we maybe started but never finished, or bought but never actually opened, or said, oh, I'll get back to that when. And the power of my course is really in then the implementation, the doing. And there are so many times where we're like, okay, I just need to read this book. I just need to learn that one more thing. And yet we're still not where we want to be. And so the idea is not that you need more information, you need more implementation. And so today we're going to be talking about why entrepreneurs get stuck in the learning mode instead of the doing mode, and how to break free from that analysis by paralysis so that you can actually start to see results. You know, the first part is like, why do we get stuck in the learning mode? Why do we get stuck in that zone of like, if I just learn more, then I'll be better? For me, one of the symptoms of ADHD is you don't like to be rejected. It's like rejection sensitivity is sometimes a symptom of ADHD. And when you're putting yourself out there and when you're prospecting and asking people, do you want to buy my stuff? There's a lot of rejection, whether it's them actually saying no, them ghosting you. There are all these times where you're not going to hear yes, and that can really trigger the rejection sensitivity. And so on the opposite side of that, learning can feel productive and can be a dopamine hit and can really boost those chemicals that our brain is craving. And like, oh, well, I am being productive. I am doing better. I am learning all these things that I'm supposed to learn. But as I've talked about before, without actually doing the things and putting it into practice, it is procrastination. You are putting off doing the actual work. Dopamine is something that people with ADHD struggle to create on our own. And so we're looking for different ways to create dopamine, and the planning, researching, organizing, making our Trello board look so perfect can be a dopamine hit. But going out and sending cold pitches via LinkedIn is not dopamine. It's actually like fear inducing. So we think like, oh, if I just research the perfect terms to put into the LinkedIn message, then I'll get yes 100% of the time. One of the hard things, but also one of the beautiful things about life is there's always going to be more to learn. My husband and I were actually just talking about it the other night, and we were just talking about different people in our life that we surround ourselves with. And the ones that we like to surround ourselves with more often are ones who are continual learners, like the ones who are always like craving to learn more, to be better, to, like we were talking about lacrosse specifically because that tends to be our pillow talk more often than not. But the people in our life that we like to surround ourselves with, lacrosse wise, are always learning more. How can I do better? How can I add more to my toolkit so that it makes me a better coach? But part of it is that we're not just going out and learning how to be a better coach. Now we're implementing these things into our coaching. If knowledge was really how we created success, then we'd all be rich, we'd all be fit, we'd all be thriving. It's not just about the learning, it is about the execution. So there's always going to be more to learn. But if you're using learning as a crutch to not put yourself out there, it really is just procrastination. Your fear is showing up as procrastination. And so you have to take time to implement what you are learning. So, how do you shift away from learning to doing? Step one is adopt the learn and apply rule. So for every, 30 minutes that you spend learning, spend 1 hour implementing. Maybe you watch a 20 or 30 minute or listen to a 20 or 30 minute podcast about how to prospect better, how to do whatever it is that you're trying to learn about. Spend 1 hour actually then going and applying it. Again, it's one of the things of why I think the prospecting power hours are so powerful because, okay, you just spent some time learning how to prospect. Now go and do. And it's an accountability thing where it's like, okay, guess what? We're all going and we're going to take messy action together. We're all going to face our fear of rejection, sensitivity of hearing no, and we're going to push through it. This happens a lot if you go to like seminars or different trainings, or you go to trade shows and you're like learning all this stuff and you feel like when I did the podcasting conference in Denver, I got home and I was like, I want to do all the things that I just learned. And so often you fall into, holy shit, it's been 6 months and I've implemented nothing that I said I was going to. And so if you watch a sales training, if you go to a seminar and you're taking notes, take time immediately after to go and do the thing that you just learned about. So let's say you learned about cold pitching and emails. As soon as you finish, go and cold pitch someone via email. Do the thing that you just learned about. That is how we're going to start to go to learn and apply, learn and apply. I just learned this, now let me apply it. So step number 2 is setting action-based goals, not just knowledge-based goals. I've talked about this previously, and I think I talk about it. I'm pretty sure there's a lesson in the sales course around it. Activity goals versus outcome goals. And so when you're starting to learn, it's not just about like, okay, I'm going to sell 10 of my courses, 10 people are going to buy my course. That's the outcome that I want. But I'm not focused on the action that needs to happen in order to do it. It's kind of that, well, I hope I get 10 people. I wish that 10 people would buy it. Okay, what are you doing so that 10 people will buy it? Instead of, I want to learn how to market my business. I'm going to take these courses because I'm going to be a great marketer. You have to switch it to an activity-based goal. So I'm going to post one piece of marketing content every other day for the next month. And one of the things that, again, actually it's funny because this is the second time that I've brought this specific client up of lessons that I learned. In my previous podcast episode, I talked about turning your waiting room into a classroom, and my client Amelia was talking about how she was going to show up as if everything was going to go right and she was going to be successful. Another thing that came from her, and I actually have the Post-it next to me, it's something that she said a while ago, and it was my favorite ABC of business: action breeds clarity. Taking action breeds clarity. And so you can have like this perfect plan of how things are going to go and how your sales funnel is going to flow and the type of clients that you're going to have and how amazing your life is going to be when your business looks like this. And then you have this perfectly road mapped thing and you go to start to do it and you're like, I don't enjoy this at all. In the last episode, I was talking about if one day you dream of having a bunch of land and animals and vegetable gardens, and all of a sudden, you get that thing like, okay, so you put away all this money and you finally get a loan and you go and you do this and you buy these animals and you have these vegetable gardens, and you realize that you hate being outside in muggy weather with the bugs, like, and you don't like having to make the decisions of putting animals down when they're sick, or you can't take vacations because the animals have to get fed every single day, and you don't have a community that will come and feed your goats every morning when you're gone for a week, then like that's not the lifestyle for you. And so in the past episode, I kind of talked about going and volunteering on a farm to learn about what their day-to-day looks like. If you say, I want to own a coffee shop one day, well, maybe go work at a coffee shop for a while and see what the behind the scenes really looks like. The customer experience is very different than the business owner experience. And so things can seem all great until you actually start getting your hands dirty. Action breeds clarity. And so if you start supporting yourself in the activity part of your goals, you're going to start to see what you enjoy, what you can keep up with, what routines you can stick with, and you're able to test things and pivot, a lot quicker around this works, this doesn't. I don't like doing it this way. This doesn't feel good. This feels clunky. I need to use this words. But you will never know that until you start to take action. And so step number 3 is shortening the feedback loop. Instead of waiting until everything is perfect, start now and adjust as you go. I've talked previously about how you're not like the Titanic. You're not this huge boat that takes a lot to keep going, that takes a lot to turn around. You're a little speedboat. And so you get to pivot and you get to change things quickly based on how they feel. So if you start now, you're going to be able to make those big pivots. Again, if you wait until you have this perfect thing and you've put so much time and energy and resources into it, like going and buying a big piece of property and all these animals, or you bought that coffee shop, or you got into this career, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I don't like this. Shorten the feedback loop, dip your toes in and say, this is for me, or this is for me-ish, or this is not for me at all. If you build, like, let's say you spend months and you build this coaching website and you want to build this coaching business where you're working with, I don't know, entrepreneurs on their relationships, communication with their partners, and how to have a family while running a business. And you take all this time and energy and you build a website, and you have the ads and you have all the perfect marketing material, and you know exactly what you want to, the script you want to use when you're selling, and then you start to do it, and you hate working with couples, or you actually don't like coaching people on how to, be parents, then all of a sudden you sunk all these resources into something that you don't enjoy. But what if you just go out and start to have a couple conversations with people about it? What if you go, like I said, go work at that coffee shop, go shadow someone who has a similar business. Other businesses that are in kind of the same niche as ours are not, like, they are competition, but we can use them to leverage a couple of things. The first thing is, if someone has a successful business doing something similar to what you want to do, that means there's an audience for it. They have built an audience, and so you can build an audience too. Like, just because there is a Starbucks doesn't mean that there is no space for your mom and pop coffee shop, because there's lots of people who drink coffee. I mean, just around here, you can't cough without running into 3 Starbucks. And they're the same business, and they still are very successful. And so I am a big proponent of, building bigger tables, not higher fences. Just because there's someone out there doing something similar doesn't mean there's not space in the community for yours as well. There are plenty of people who are are out there talking about sales, talking about prospecting. I have learned from a lot of those people, and I still want to put my voice out there because I think people are going to learn from me in a different way than they're going to learn from those people. All of that to say, shorten the feedback loop, start experimenting, start trialing things, start taking action to see what you like, what you don't like, what works, what doesn't. The last piece is start implementing today. And so, what are things as soon as you get out of listening to this podcast can you implement? Can you post about your offer? Can you send a DM to a potential client before you close your laptop? Can you set a 10-minute timer and take any action towards your goal? And take messy action. You don't need permission. You don't need to learn more. You don't need to be better. You are enough just as you are today. You don't need to watch one more YouTube video. You don't need to download one more freebie. You don't need to read one more book and then everything will be perfect, because you are an eternal learner, and the most you're going to learn is by taking action today. So if any of this resonated with you and you're like, oh, I have been putting this off because I have wanted to learn more first, I'm going to challenge you today to stop waiting and start taking action. Start implementing something today. Join my virtual co-working. That is a great space to take messy action in a condensed amount of time with other people who are doing it. If sales and prospecting is something you have put off, join my prospecting power hours. It's a part of my course, but if you don't, let's say you don't need a course, you know enough about sales, you just need to implement and you want to join just the prospecting power hours, that's an option as well. It's a great community to start doing the damn thing and putting yourself out there, because action breeds clarity, and you are enough just as you are today. So I hope that was helpful. I hope that it nudges you a little bit out of the learning and a little bit closer to the doing. If you're listening to this and it did resonate you and there's that little like, oh, I do that, I would love for you to stop this podcast right now and go and do it. And then send me a message. I would love to hear that you took a little bit of action based off the motivation of this episode. Thank you for listening. Hop into the virtual co-working with me every Wednesday, noon to 2 EST. You can learn more about it at highvibe.com/virtual. And until next time, remember that big dreams and small steps will transform your life.